Individuals and families considering donation are often concerned with what happens to the body. How will it be treated? What will it look like afterwards? When will it be released to the family? This is all fully discussed as part of the consent process. What is emphasized is that both the person who inhabited the body and the body itself are treated with care, respect, and privacy throughout the process. We must aim to support cultural and religious customs which help provide spiritual and practical support for families at this time. In many religions and cultures, it is prohibited to desecrate a dead body. It is meant to be buried intact. This is true across most of Africa, the Middle East, and the Far East. Japan has one of the lowest deceased organ donation rates in the world for this reason. Historically, such customs can be traced back to the fact that bodies not handled correctly can spread disease. People in society were protected by such practices. All religions and cultures advocate helping our fellow man. In South African culture, Ubuntu can be translated as humanity towards others. In Islam, many clerics have published fatwas, religious rulings, explaining that organ donation is permissible based on the Quran and the Prophet's teachings. Throughout the organ donation process, all safety checklists and infection control practices are adhered to. The donor is cleaned and covered with sterile drapes, as for any operation, and a midline incision is made. The operation is carried out in a controlled manner with delicate handling of all tissues, both out of respect for the donor and to prevent damage to the organs being donated. After the operation, care is taken in stitching the wound closed with a strong running suture. The body is washed and a dressing is applied over the wound. Identification bands are left in place and the eyelids are closed if they are not already. Some families want to see the body immediately, while others would rather only see the body after it has been prepared by the undertakers in a setting away from the hospital. Every family, culture and religion is different. The transplant coordinator helps to streamline this process in accordance with the family's wishes. It is part of the consent process. In our hospital, there is a layout room if the family wishes to see the body before it is wrapped. Otherwise, it would be wrapped in theatre. Then, once labelled, the body is released to the undertakers, the family, or in cases requiring a medico-legal post-mortem, to the forensic pathologist. In South Africa, as in most countries, a post-mortem is legally required in all cases of unnatural death or deaths related to a procedure or anaesthetic. This is a statutory requirement and unavoidable. Consent from the forensic pathologist is required in all such cases prior to organ donation. The transplant surgeon writes a report on the operative findings, which is submitted to the pathologist. A post-mortem would make use of the same incision as the donor operation to inspect the chest and the abdomen. If tissue such as bone and skin is donated, it is recovered after the post-mortem. Donated sections of bone are replaced with prosthetics to prevent disfigurement, and skin is only taken to the depth of a light graze from the posterior aspects of the body. Paperwork is a major part of any death, and the transplant coordinator assists in ensuring that all paperwork within their control is promptly completed and procedures are correctly followed. This helps ensure a timeous release of the body. If a post-mortem is required, the time is discussed with the pathologist so the family can know when the body will be available. This is particularly important in Islam, where the burial is required to take place as soon as possible after death. So at the end of all this, does the body look different? It will be different from life. The body will feel cool and look pale, as any dead person would. The midline incision is closed and dressed, and is not visible under a robe or clothes. The eyelids are closed, the face is untouched. A person who donated is not noticeably different from someone who has not. To recap, the body is treated with respect and dignity throughout the organ donation process. Cultural and religious customs are respected and the family's wishes honoured. The donation process does not dramatically alter how a person looks in death.